specific purpose in it. Special.
It is
No,
specific.
I keep saying special instead of specific.
That was the terminology under the operative, or is the terminology under the operative plan.
Right. It's not because I'm special.
We didn't think they were special either. There were
No.
specific purposes that they have.
Flatland recovery.
So as was touched on briefly earlier, I just wanted to...
Oh, hang on, wait 1 second,
Okay.
just because I have to. No one, this is a standing order that I wasn't aware of, but I would like to move that the meeting continue beyond 8 hours as per standing order 3.37. It has to be passed by 5 o'clock. Seconded by Pauline Cotter. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. Carried. No, I'm actually personally confident that we'll be finished by 5:30. I am. So I know that Jamie has to be somewhere at 6. I'm very confident we'll be finished by 5:30.
So sorry, just to go back, as was touched on briefly at the Central City chapter, I just wanted to confirm that we have now removed the provisions of the Central City Flatland Recovery Zone, which are now intended to be covered by the overall chapter, the specific purpose Flatland Recovery Zone. So I'll move on to the Minister's comments in relation to the specific purpose Flatland Recovery Zone, which can be found on page 142, recommendation 100, and in the
140.
that's the Central City.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess one of their requests was for the objectives and policies to be replaced to be consistent with provisions that we had previously discussed. Sarah. I have since had a meeting with the officials that had suggested this recommendation and advised them there had been a change since the last time that we had the discussions, and that was really in terms of the legal feedback that we had received in terms of the duplication with the natural hazards chapter, and it was really a matter of making sure that that duplication had been removed. But I am now have also recommended some minor changes to the wording of the objective, which is to include the words inappropriate and infrastructure. And I wanted to include infrastructure as that is considered to be a key component of Christchurch recovery. I've also made an amendment to the interim use of land policy, just to make it very clear as to what activity is proposed to be accommodated within the zone in the interim period. I don't think they need any further amendments. That they appropriately address the issue. So I could move on to the next one.
Well, so I just what were the previous oh, I see, you've just added the word inappropriate and infrastructure.
So previously
the reason that I'm asking the question is that I think that there are some businesses that are still operating in the Flatland Recovery Zone who would be very keen to see that land rezoned out of this area, because they're right on a main route. The business is operating perfectly fine, but this of course would not enable them to develop their site at all beyond their existing footprint. And so, but presumably that through the submission process, they would be able to submit on that to the independent hearings panel. Yeah. And but this is made clear at the outset that this is really a holding pattern.
Yes.
It is not the final word on this zone. Because I kind of want to repeat that, because obviously there are people who are still living in the zone. There are people who still operating businesses in the zone. There are people who still own land in the zone, and although they have increased the offer to people who are uninsured, and they've increased the offer to people who had businesses and unoccupied land to 100% and the uninsured to 80%, I think that there are still some people in those areas that don't want to accept that offer. So it may be that, and I just want to make sure that people understand that we're not doing anything to make a final determination on the future use. That's that right. This is simply an interim status to allow a status to apply across the land in the meantime.
The sort of thing that you've just outlined there is what would come through either in legal submissions kicking off the hearing or in a very high level piece of evidence as an overview piece of evidence. So
in a situation like this where we're not having hearings ourselves, would we provide support for or advice, or I mean, how would we help people that would want to make a submission, for example, to be rezoned? Or would they have to take legal advice and appear in front of the hearings panel?
They don't have to appear. They can put a submission in. They don't have to appear. Their submission still has to be considered. We don't, as officers, provide legal advice. They would need to get their own legal advice. But the situation, the overview of the context of the situation, that this is a holding zone, and there will be a further process that Sarah will go through with the public to determine what should happen on that land long term. That can be set out either in legal submissions, as I said, as an introduction to the hearing on this particular zone.
Yeah,
we can develop further information on that, like an information page, as we have done with other issues. And of course, we will be available when the submissions open on the planners hotline, and we will be going out for meetings, that kind of thing, for people to raise those issues.
But it is perfectly acceptable through this process that people apply. No, but they wouldn't. Because they haven't actually done a recovery plan, so it wouldn't be inconsistent with anything that is legally existent. That it wouldn't be inconsistent for somebody to apply to have their zone changed.
From SPZ?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. I think having an information pack would be very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Good. Is that all on that? You all happy? Yep, people are happy. We're on to...
So now we move through to the more minor changes. You've just finished what I would call the very heavy, more significant chapters proposals, and the rest are changes to align with zones that have gone through in other stages, stage 2 particularly, and also I just want to bring to your attention the integrated schools designations and the commercial Richmond Working Men's Club. So with your leave, Leanne, we could go through definitions, general procedures and rules, and leave out transport, subdivision development and earthworks, because there's either no comments made by the ministers on these on minor changes to these chapters, or they're insignificant, just clarification or small matters. Leave out utilities and energy. Just briefly go over the changes in rural, SPZ, Burwood landfill. It's already been mentioned to you, but what's actually in that zone. And as I said before, Richmond Working Men's Club and designation. So 5 to 10 minutes for each.
Yeah. Can we start with the ones that'll take the longest? So
okay, so we could start then with Richmond Working Men's Club.
Thank you, Ellen.
This will be the shortest. Thank you.
Aye.
Indeed. Just to remind councillors, we talked about this the other day. This is a situation where the panel, during the hearing of the commercial chapter, this issue was raised to the Working Men's Club. the panel has actually directed that the council notify a proposal of this being zoned. So really this is just information for you. It's not a minister's comment. It's really just to tell you that this is a proposal and there's really not much else you need to do with it other than know that it's happening.
Right.
Thank you.
I think we had a discussion around it
Yes, you did.
a couple of weeks ago. So people were generally, are you happy with that because it's in your patch? I think it's in your patch, or is it in Burwood Pegasus? No, it's Richmond's in yours. Yeah, I'm never quite sure where the boundary is.
It's
Right.
But it's just to be notified so the panel can get third parties' comments on the proposal. They're not saying that's what they're notifying. They just want to get it out there so people can comment. Cool.
Next, we'll do specific purpose Burwood. Anita's already indicated that it's no longer going to remain in the open space chapter. We'll have a specific zoning of its own.
So the Minister's comments were to zone Burwood Landfill and Resource Recovery Park as a specific purpose zone. We have inserted a new chapter into the specific purpose zones, chapter 21.12, and there's an accompanying section 32 report that's been prepared. And the purpose of that chapter is to recognise and provide for the existing and ongoing need for earthquake waste recovery and disposal activities at these sites, with the final outcome for the progressively restored area for open space recreational purposes. I guess, so there is a zoning shown on the planning maps, which includes the current specific special purpose landfill zone, as well as the area of the BRRP and the area known as Site D. And so, we set out various permitted activities that provide appropriate land use activities there to facilitate their operation, which require progressive restoration. And does anyone have any questions?
So this special purpose zone,
When it becomes operative?
roughly?
When the plan becomes operative, the provisions?
Yeah, I'm just sort of thinking of,
Yeah, it could be.
well, two things.
It has to be before March. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of two things at the moment, that Trans Waste are applying for consents to expand at the moment and or to extend. Does a special purpose zone sort of take away any ability for local residents to do anything that's happening in there or not?
If they are seeking their consent under the I think it'll depend on timeframes, but what we're proposing through the special purpose zone, the specific purpose zone, is the same as what's in the current operative plan.
The purpose of doing this is because it needs to be open for longer now. It's not going to be returned to open space as we initially thought. They need it to be open for longer. Sarah does.
So it's a provision to allow activities happen there for a longer time span.
Yes.
Yeah, beyond 2016.
And
beyond 2018,
Trans
was it?
Waste are in the process of applying for consents to do that very thing now. So,
As they're entitled to, because currently we're operating under the operative district plan, and these rules certainly have absolutely no effect until it's notified. Even then, it's still only a waiting matter. They don't actually have.
So under the provisions of special purpose zone, would it be more difficult to extend operations, or?
I think you've said it's the same, isn't it?
It's the same. I think the only thing that's different is noise. I think in the operative plan, if the noise provisions are exceeded, then it's a controlled, non-notified activity, but it's going to be, the noise standards are as per the rest of the district, which are, if you don't comply, it'll be a discretionary activity.
Phil?
I'm just wondering if we could strengthen it rather than having it the same. Like Cass Street is a classic case where, with the railway land, Transwaste, and David referred to that company, they have applied to go in there for consent, got the consent, it's subject to appeal. But like the impact on the redevelopment in Sydenham is really unacceptable, and by anyone's language.
I was waiting for you as soon as that word Transwaste came out. I was going to hear a comment that was completely irrelevant to the special purpose zone that we're talking. Sorry, specific purpose zone.
But there's a railway zone, isn't it, too?
No. This is the Burwood Resource Park.
Oh, sorry, I thought you
Recovery Park.
Sorry,
but it was a good try.
I'll come back to it though.
I'm actually incredibly impressed that you managed to get it into the debate when it's not even on the agenda for today.
So special purpose railway, is that a separate category? Is it?
Yes, this is a specific purpose zone, Burwood Recovery.
Okay, I'll quit while I'm ahead.
Recovery Park, whatever it is. Sorry, it's the Burwood Landfill and Resource Recovery Park. It's got this amazing long acronym, BLRRP. So, are people generally good with this? Yes? Right, moving right along. Thank you.
Definitions for your decision, designations for your decision to include whether or not into stage 3, and I'll hand this to Adele.
Hello, so I'm talking to paragraph 4.8 of the report and attachment 3. The report paragraphs start on page 14. So this is more of a procedural matter. It differs from the things that have come before you. Essentially, what we need a decision from Council on today is whether or not to include some new notices of requirement which have been lodged with the Council into the district plan process for notification and decision. So just as background, the Minister of Education has lodged 26 new notices of requirement for its state integrated schools. And a notice of requirement is essentially a proposed designation. Now these are existing schools, they're not new schools. So they were lodged in the usual way, and the resource consents team have been processing them. The Minister has sought that they be included into the district plan for notification, and both the Resource Management Act and the Order in Council provide for that at Council's discretion. Attached as attachment 3 is a memo from Melinda Smith, Senior Planner in the Resource Consents Unit. She has been processing the notices of requirement to date and has provided a memorandum which sets out her view on whether or not the requirements should be included into the district plan. Essentially, the main differences between continuing a resource management process and or including them into the district plan review are around decision-making responsibilities. So ordinarily, a notice of requirement is lodged with the council, and the council will consider that and make a recommendation to the minister, and the minister then considers that recommendation and makes a decision. And then there are appeal rights to the Environment Court. Under the district plan review process, it's a bit different. The council wouldn't be involved in the decision making, although it could make submissions on the requirements. The Minister of Education wouldn't make the decision either. The decision would be made by the independent hearings panel, and there would be no rights of appeal. So there's pros and cons for various parties, but in the round, Melinda Smith from Resource Consents considers that it would be okay to bring them into the district plan review. There's no reason not to, and there are some efficiency benefits to be gained from doing that. Essentially, the notification requirements are the same. The directly affected parties will be involved, and in fact, under the district plan review process, there'll be even wider full public notification of these proposals. So the decision we require from you is whether you accept bringing them into the district plan review for decision making.
So, but the MOE loses its requiring authority status in this regard then?
It loses the ability to make the decision.
The ability to make the decision. And that they want that?
Pros and cons, no appeal right, so the designation could be confirmed earlier.
Right. But expensive. Is it more expensive for us?
It's hard to say.
Well, we're only a submitter really on the process.
Yes.
When
That's
they
right.
do it, now we become, you know, we're the ones paying for the, you know.
Yeah, to date
I mean, the question that I'm really asking is, would the Ministry of Education like to fund the additional cost?
well, they have paid a fee already. As normally there's a $10,000 fee for notices of requirement, and they have, because it's essentially a bundle in their existing schools, so it's not as difficult to understand anticipate the effects, for example. So they've paid a fee, not the normal fee. So council's costs have been met up until this point.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, are these currently designated as schools in the current plan?
Not designated. This is there will be new designations. So these are.
They're all current schools.
I understand that, but
no.
they're not designated as schools in the current.
So the state schools are all currently designated.
I understand
These are
that
state
too.
integrated
I
schools.
understand that
They're
too.
not
Here's the
designated.
list. Have you got the paper?
Yes. So the question is, what is the difference effectively between operating as a school and being designated as a school area in the DPR?
The benefit of a designation is you don't have to operate in accordance with the rules of a district plan. So there's more flexibility for the Minister of Education.
So explain what that might mean. So for instance, that doesn't mean that it means that they don't have to come back every time if they want to bring a new classroom on or extend a classroom. They don't have to come back and get individual consents every time. Once a designation is passed and we understand what they will do on that site, what the design for the site is and everything else, they don't have any further regulation that they need to meet under the district plan.
They do have to come in for outline plan approval, however, which gives council an opportunity to consider the bulk and location type aspects of the project. So if there was a proposal for a new classroom, for example, extension to the school, under a designation process, the Minister of Education would come in with an outline plan. Council would consider it and can request changes to that. So that might be the siting in relation to boundary or height or anything like that. But the Minister will make a final decision on that.
And can these purposes for which they're using the school
Only be for school purposes?
The operation has to be in accordance with the designation purpose, and it's usually education purposes, isn't it?
What purpose would you be worried about?
just some of these schools have got quite
Large tracts of land suddenly deciding that they wanted to do a quasi-commercial venture on their
Oh,
land
no,
or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So if there was a development proposal that wasn't in accordance with the purpose of the designation, the underlying rules apply, and in this case it's a school zone.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Okay. All right. Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
So you're accepting of them being brought into the district plan review?
Yep.
Good. Thank you. Rural, Debbie?
So I'm speaking to page 10 of your report, 4.7.10. The stage 3 provisions for the rural chapter consist of 3 new rules, all related to landscape provisions on Banks Peninsula, plus matters of discretion relating to significant landscapes on Banks Peninsula and the coastal environment. So the Minister's comments were fairly minor, yet they can be found on page 146 and 147 in terms of officers' response to the comments. So keep it fairly short and sweet. Recommendation 207, the Minister's commented on reducing prescriptiveness and built form standards and whether or not we should consider non-statutory guidelines. So just as I said, this is introducing 3 new rules. They currently exist within the Banks Peninsula Plan. They protect or manage effects on landscape matters. And in particular, the building reflectivity rule works very well and is quite easy to read, efficient, effective. So I've recommended no change to those. And we also currently already have a non-statutory guideline for landscape on Banks Peninsula. And recommendation 208 was on page 147, so just the following page. This comment from the ministers was just in terms of they incorrectly referred to a policy. It's actually a matter of discretion in relation to the coastal environment. They wanted it to be broadened to a whole range of effects, so I've accepted that and just recommended some wording to refer back to the objectives and policies of Chapter 19.
Very good. All good? Yep, thank you. Next one is
General rules and procedures, and then we have definitions, and then we're finished.
So stage 3 for general rules and procedures just deals with some of the overlaps, particularly with the natural and cultural heritage overlays.
page.
And this is, page 147 to page 152. And the majority of these are quite small changes. I think the only significant one that I wanted to highlight was recommendation number 26, which is on page 149. Very small addition to the recommendation.
Okay.
So the Minister's comments were in relation to the activity status for temporary activities and sites of ecological significance in the coastal environment. And the Minister's comments were seeking that the activity status be raised to discretionary or possibly non-complying on the grounds that events within these overlays are not appropriate. Recommendation that I've made looking at some of the sites of ecological significance, these are actually, some of them, quite popular venues for events, such as New Brighton Beach. So I've made some amendments to the rules identifying particular areas where temporary activities would be permitted within sites of ecological significance or within the coastal environment. So there's exceptions for things like races, so they don't have to get consent every time they go over a river, things like that. And what I've added is just an additional exemption for particular zones. So for example, most of Littleton is within the coastal environment overlay, and this additional exemption would allow temporary activities within zones while still protecting coastal environment outside of those areas.
Yep. Sounds reasonable.
Any questions?
I think, beg your pardon, we need a specific recommendation again.
Because you've done this.
2.2, yes, refer to that sheet.
6.2.2.
Under 6.2,
Under
we need another one.
6.2.1.
Yes.
Go 6.2.2.
Amend, which one was it?
This is recommendation 26
Recommendation 26
on page 149.
on page 149.
According to the page handed out, which you can
According-
attach to the minutes.
According to the additional page tabled at the meeting. That'll do.
Thank you.
Very good.
Finally, definitions.
Yep. What page?
There are two sets of definitions related recommendations. The first relates to the definitions section of the Central City chapter, And those ones are recommendations 191 to 194 on pages 137 to 139 of the table.
Yep.
The first two are definitions that relate to rules relating to the temporary activities within the General Rules and Procedures section of the Central City chapter, which I believe Alison may have already dealt with. No? Okay. Alison, would you mind joining us, please? I'll deal with recommendation 192 first, which was the request by the Minister for a definition of effective land drainage in relation to the waterway-related rules.
Sorry, I can't see that. Where is it? On page 137?
It's right at the bottom. It's actually effectively on page 138.
So the actual recommendation, the actual Minister's comment is written at the bottom of the page, the rest of the relevant materials over the page. Right.
Alison's actually dealt with that in her section, and I understand that she has determined that the definition's not actually required.
No, because it's used in a policy and it's clear from the context of the policy what effective land drainage would mean, so recommendation.
Right. And in relation to the recommendation 191 before it, again, just in my look at Alison's recommendation, she's dealt with that in the list of activities within that particular rule. So it wasn't really definition related as such. Is that right?
Yeah. Within the temporary activities, there's the definition, there's a list of activities that are covered by it, which includes most of the events and all of the activities. It didn't include temporary military training activities, so what we're seeking is just to amend it to include all of the activities that are covered by the temporary activities. And
Sorry, you just completely lost me. I'm not hearing properly. It's been a long day. Well, no, we're on 138.
We're on the top of 138. 137 had the Minister's comment at the very bottom of the page, and the actual changes are on the top of 138.
But it just says, please refer to the explanation provided below with respect to recommendation 165, which is not below it. I think that's supposed to say 195, but I can't, no, I don't know what that's referring to. I'm lost.
It's recommendation 161. Oh. Recommendation 161, sorry, is the actual recommendation that
161.
Alison has addressed
But
it.
that's not below, that's way above, isn't it? 165? What page is that on?
on page 244.
Sorry?
244.
Oh, God. Well, how did it get out of sync like that?
There isn't it?
Have I got it 244?
124.
What document are you reading?
I think it's page 124. There's page 124.
Oh, sorry. There's something wrong with my hearing. I know that my eyesight's affected, but I don't...
Okay, perhaps...
So what, sorry, what page? This is getting silly now. 124. 124? Okay, and it's 165, is it? Or 161?
I'm sure it's 161.
Recommendation page.
Page 124.
No, that's changing it to
The proposed list of activities is more consistent with the definition of community activities, includes activities that would have effect similar to those already proposed.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, sounds like an episode of Yes Minister.
The recommendation from the ministers is a little bit unclear. It refers to...
There are a few of them that fit that category, I'm afraid. But I always thought that was just me. So tell me the page
of community activities and the title of the role. So it's a little bit unclear.
So they're not actually requesting an additional definition here. What they've requested in the rule is because we've listed a number of activities that are permitted, which is recreation, education, cultural entertainment, and all of those together fall under the definition of community activities.
Yeah.
So we've changed the rule to say community activities instead of listing each of those individually, but it's not a definition.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
That's all you've done?
Yes.
That's all you've done?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. That sounds good to me. And do you think the ministers will be happy with that?
Yes.
Oh, go on. Say yes.
The balance 2 recommendations were in response to the Minister's concern around unnecessary duplication of provisions and particular definitions.
Yeah, and they wanted us to use a descriptive phrase rather than a set of specific activities, didn't they? That's been the theme throughout their representations. General, it's one of the themes.
One of them, yeah. But in relation to the Balance 2 recommendations, it's about the reintegration of the Central City provisions back into the balance of the plan, and in this case, the definitions chapter specifically. And effectively, only 8 of the existing Central City definitions, which are specific to the Central City, will be relocated back into the definitions chapter. All of the rest of them will actually be deleted because the Central City chapter, as it currently sits, relies on a repetition of the Stage 1 and Stage 2 definitions.
Okay, right, got it. All right, that's good.
So that was the Central City definitions related section. The other, of course, is the Stage 3 of the definitions chapter per se, which is effectively largely natural and cultural heritage.
And what page?
Definitions. Recommendations 1 to 12 on pages 6 to 14 of the table. So effectively, we'll start on page 7 because the first 2 recommendations are general recommendations seeking greater clarity, etc., which are effectively addressed by the balance of the definitions-related recommendations.
Yep.
I perhaps won't go through them one by one. Were there any in particular that anyone had a particular interest in that they would like to talk about?
I presume that the language around customary harvesting and all that's been signed off by Ngāi Tahu.
It's been sorted out. We've checked it with the Minister's staff and they're happy with.
Yeah, but
it was actually a bit of a miscommunication.
Okay, but this is something that's acceptable to Māori as well. You know, tangata whenua and mana whenua. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yep. Indigenous vegetation, that's all gone. Landscape. Yep. Yep. Well, I might have to start using the word. I might need to have to start using the word reconstruction more often with that definition. It's very good. Yep. I mean, is there anything that we should be specifically referring to? I mean, it's always hard going through these documents ahead of a meeting, you know, in the sense of just not having a context. I found it easier to read the Minister's comments document, and that made this easier to read, but it's been hard work.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would think, oh my God, I should have mentioned that to them?
No, there isn't.
Right. When that report comes out and the hearings panel says slam somebody for doing something, I should have warned them that this would happen.
Certainly, I mean, most of the comments that the Minister have made have been accepted in some form or other.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's all good. So,
that comes to the end of our bringing to your attention Minister's comments so that you can have particular regard to them. What I would suggest, though, is that we add another recommendation regarding the 26 integrated schools designations, that you approve those coming into the district plan review.
Okay, 6.2.3,
the 26 integrated schools
state
designations.
Integrated schools,
yes.
State integrated schools that have the 26 applications.
Notices of requirement for the state integrated schools.
The 26 notices of requirement relating to state integrated schools be incorporated in Stage 3 district plan review notification.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anything else that you'd like as an amendment in here?
No, I think it's all there.
Okay,
The
let's go.
understanding is that on the basis of those 3 amendments, everything else that's been discussed today you're accepting of,
Yep.
and those 3 amendments will be made to those relevant proposals before notification.
Yeah.
So the notified material would incorporate those 3 amendments.
Yeah. Okay, so we 6.1, receiving the Minister's comments and having particular regard to them. We approve the staff recommendations in response to Minister's comments found in the draft recommendations table, refer to attachment 2 as amended. And then we've highlighted 3 amendments. We're approving the recommendations table, incorporating any changes made by Council as the report summarising the Council's response and reasons to the Minister's comments to be provided to the Ministers before notifying the provisions set out in 6.5. We are approving any changes to be made to the Stage 3 proposals chapters to address minor errors before notification. So that's you guys. Approve the draft Stage 3 proposals chapters, planning, maps, definitions and appendices and Section 32 documents with any amendments according to 6.2 and 6.4 above as proposals for notification on 25 July 2015. And note submissions may be required. Okay, no, that's fine. Now, what about that one that we had a little bit of controversy over earlier on?
The
which
Lyndhurst Hospital? No.
No.
Not the setback for the
No.
Central City Hospital?
No, the one that we decided that we would take the Minister's advice. No, the what was it? It's early on. No.
No.
Sorry, I thought there was one thing.
You know Yanni's watching it, don't you?
I'm sure he is. What was it? It was. No, maybe it was. Maybe I am thinking of the hospital. I thought it was.
You said that wasn't one that we needed to.
To argue over, but there was. I thought there was another one that we.
You raised that we should discuss with the Minister of Health or his officials about the 10 metre to 4 metre issue.
Yeah.
And I thought the decision there was...
the decision was to go with the
10
and
see if it can be mediated.
see what you could resolve in the meantime. It must have been. I can't remember. I thought that there was something else that that we'd had quite a debate over on the Central City, but. No. Okay, I'm just going completely mad now, so we'll just give it away. I will move this happily, and somebody would like to second it, Phil. And I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good
Apart
work.
from the possibility of a submission on Stage 3, this is the last public meeting that we would have on the District Plan Review.
Great. And so from here on in, we've got obviously time schedule, for meetings, but presumably we wouldn't need those.
No, that's correct.
We don't need 2 a week?
No, that's correct. I suggest perhaps we stick with Fridays, and potentially they can be reduced from 2 hours to 1 hour, because what they would be, for the most part, are updates to you on how mediations and hearings are going. Yeah.
I have every month I have and a number of us have a UDSIC meeting.
Oh, right.
So Fridays can be problematic.
Or would you prefer to keep the Wednesday then and take the Fridays out?
It might actually be better, yeah.
And it wouldn't need to be every Wednesday.
I come to most of them. I've been very good. Okay, yeah, no, so I think we'll stick with the Wednesday mornings because they're 8 till 9.
Yes, 8 till 9,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And that's quite cosy because then people have got other things that they can
That's
do.
good.
Right, okay.
All right, and if I don't need them, we'll cancel them and
Yeah,
within a day or two.
as soon as you know that they're not required, then far
Next
away.
Wednesdays is not required.
Thank you.
And thank you to your whole team, because we realise there's a mountain of work that sits behind all this, so thank you.
Yeah, no, please. No, and I'd like to reiterate that I know that it has been challenging on occasions, and the process has left a lot to be desired. And you know, if I could have had life over again, I'd like to know what I know now at the beginning of the process, rather than have to wait till I've actually understood the whole process till I got to the end of it.
I know that the paper has been a huge issue. Normally, this would never happen.
No.
It might happen, you might get one chapter to look at every 6 months and not a process.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, like, you know, I mean, it has been what it has been, and I think people have coped under incredibly trying, you know, situation, and I think councillors have performed extraordinarily, but we couldn't possibly have got through all of this without the entire team behind you, Brigitte, and you yourself for all the work that you've done. Thank you very much. Okay.